Thinking can be a wonderful and powerful tool for creation if it is used consciously and purposefully. However, if thinking becomes the sole basis for one's sense of self and identity, it can become a trap, like being possessed by a force that controls you without your awareness. In such cases, thinking is not happening because one wants it to, but rather because it is happening to them. This can lead to a state of addiction where one feels they cannot function without constant thinking. Therefore, it is important to be mindful of one's relationship with thinking and to use it intentionally rather than being consumed by it. If you find that you can't seem to stop thinking, it's important to understand that you are not necessarily actively thinking, rather thoughts are occurring within you. It might be more accurate to say that you are being thought, as opposed to actively thinking. It's essential to pay attention to the quiet spaces that exist between words and sentences. These gaps are where true meditation takes place, while the words simply serve as a guide toward that stillness. When you become aware of these silent gaps while I speak, try to acknowledge them. Notice that you are not thinking during these gaps and use this as a moment to meditate. By focusing on these gaps and practicing this type of meditation, you will become more familiar with the feeling of stillness and silence that exists within you. Eventually, you may even begin to notice these gaps in your everyday life between your own thoughts. By paying attention to the gaps between your thoughts, you can tap into a deeper dimension of consciousness. These gaps, which can also be referred to as stillness, allow you to become aware of the realm that exists beyond your thoughts. As you become more familiar with these gaps, you may notice that they deepen and become longer in duration. This is because you are becoming more attuned to the stillness that exists within you. When you reach this state of awareness, you begin to embody a two-dimensional existence. You are both a person and an expression of consciousness that transcends your personal self. This consciousness is a universal force that exists within you, allowing you to tap into the greater consciousness of the universe. It's important to note that your personal achievements or lack thereof do not impact this universal consciousness within you. Ultimately, by practicing this type of awareness and tapping into the stillness between your thoughts, you can deepen your connection to the greater consciousness and live a greater life. At a fundamental level, you are the consciousness of the universe, and you exist as a focal point of that consciousness. Although this universal consciousness pervades all space, you exist temporarily as a person until you eventually dissipate into the greater consciousness. Many people struggle with issues of self-esteem, comparing themselves to others and feeling inadequate in various ways. But who is this I am that they are comparing themselves to? It's important to recognize that this I am is not the true essence of who you are, but rather a temporary persona. Life is full of ups and downs, successes and failures, and obstacles that we must overcome. It's natural to experience polarities in life, but it's important to recognize that there is something beyond these polarities. While we may be able to improve our circumstances to some degree, there will always be limitations and challenges that we must face. By recognizing the impermanence of the person and focusing on the greater consciousness that exists within us, we can find greater peace and fulfillment in life. Within you, there exists a deeper dimension that transcends the polarities of good and bad, gain and loss. This transcendent dimension is not dependent on these polarities and can be referred to as something beyond language's ability to label. Despite